My name is Darian Kessler. I'm 34 years old, and people who meet me think I'm just a quiet guy who works long hours in a rundown auto shop on the edge of town. I drive an old pickup, wear the same boots every day, and don't say much. That's the version of me the world sees. That's the version my wife married. But the truth? That's something I've kept buried until now. Madeline and I had what you could call a transactional marriage. Her family wanted her to settle down with someone safe, someone quiet, someone they could control. I was perfect for the role. They thought I was poor, aimless, forgettable. And that's exactly what I let them believe. Madeline didn't marry me out of love. She made that painfully clear from the start. "Let's just make this work for a couple of years," she said on our wedding night. "We'll go our separate ways when the time is right." There was no kiss, no warmth, not even a flicker of hope in her eyes. Just a cold, calculated agreement. But me? I was a fool. I fell for her. Hard. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I treated her right, showed her I was loyal, gave her the life she wanted, she'd see something in me. She never did. She treated me like an inconvenience. I was the ghost in our home, the man who fixed the sink, paid the bills, and quietly disappeared into the background. She hated my dreams, especially the one that mattered most to me, building my own luxury car brand. "You think someone like you can run a company?" she laughed once. "You can't even fix the coffee machine." But here's the part she never knew. The garage? That wasn't just a job. It was a front. I'm the sole heir to Kessler Dynamics, one of the biggest privately owned performance engine manufacturers on the West Coast. My grandfather left me everything. Millions in the bank. Patents, designs, land, and a legacy I've been quietly planning to build on. I hid my wealth for a reason. I wanted to know who would stay when there was nothing to gain. Now I know. Last week, I saw her phone light up. I wasn't even trying to snoop. It was just there. Her face changed. That empty, cold expression she always gave me? Gone. She was blushing, smiling, typing fast. I'd never seen her look that alive. That same night, she sat across from me at the dinner table like nothing had changed. Then she dropped the bomb. "This marriage was always meant to end. I've met someone else. The contract's up, Darian. I want a divorce." She smiled when she said it, like she'd won, like I was too weak to see it coming. But what she didn't know, I'd already seen my lawyer 3 days earlier. She thought she was walking away from a nobody. But soon, the world would know who Darian Kessler really is. And Madeline? She'd be just a chapter in my story, a chapter full of lies, betrayal, and a mistake she'd regret for the rest of her life. The morning after Madeline told me she was done, I woke up earlier than usual. The house was cold and quiet, like it had been waiting for this moment. I sat at the kitchen table, watching her from across the room as she scrolled on her phone, smiling like she'd just won the lottery. Her smile was genuine, bright, the kind of smile someone wears when they finally feel free. She was already planning her new life, the one that didn't include me. The same life she'd always dreamed of while I was working late nights fixing engines and pretending to be someone I'm not. I poured myself a black coffee, the bitterness matching the knot growing in my chest. But this time I didn't feel anger or pain. I felt something sharper, a calm, deadly focus. Madeline wanted out, fine. But she had no idea what she was about to unleash. Because 3 days before her betrayal, I had already met with my lawyer. We went over every detail, assets, accounts, the timing. Everything was locked down. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was preparing for a comeback. While Madeline thought I was just a poor mechanic with no future, I was secretly building a plan. A plan to launch my own luxury car brand, the dream she always mocked and dismissed. She said I was wasting my time, that I'd never be more than a nobody in her eyes. But what she didn't see was the quiet storm brewing inside me. That same night, after filing the divorce papers, I sat alone in my garage, the real one, the secret one, surrounded by blueprints, prototype engines, and designs that would change everything. I touched the cold metal of my latest creation and smiled. Madeline thought this was the end, that she'd trapped me in a life of failure and silence. But she couldn't have been more wrong. The next chapter of my life was about to begin, and it was going to be louder than anyone expected. Madeline's world was about to be turned upside down, and I'd be the one holding the pen. I didn't waste time after she left. With Madeline gone, the house finally stopped holding its breath. Every room felt lighter, like the walls were relieved to be done with pretending. I packed what I needed that same evening and disappeared from the life she thought she was leaving behind. By sunrise, I was at the hangar. I'd already mentioned it to my lawyer, coded indirect. No paper trail connecting it to me. And now, standing in that dusty space with engine oil in the air and silence echoing off the steel walls, I felt more at home than I ever did under a shared mortgage. I wasn't starting. I was continuing, louder, faster, and finally untethered. The prototype I'd been working on, the one Madeline said would never leave the sketch stage, was running. It roared to life on the second ignition like it had been waiting for this moment too. But it still wasn't perfect. Not yet. And perfection was non-negotiable. I brought in Sky the following week. She was the only one I trusted to build this from the shadows. We hadn't spoken in over a year, but when I called, she answered on the first ring. "So," she said, "you're finally pulling the trigger." Sky didn't ask about Madeline. She didn't need to. We rented an office downtown under a shell company and set up a virtual identity for the brand. Not a single soul outside the core team knew who was behind it. While the city slept, we worked. I moved between the hangar and the office like a man possessed, testing, refining, building not just a car, but a narrative. A rebellion with wheels. I slept in short bursts on a leather couch with engine blueprints for blankets. I ate whatever was in arm's reach. I cut everyone else off, friends, old clients, even my brother. This wasn't a phase. It was a rebirth. Then came the break. A private collector in Dubai found one of our teaser videos. We hadn't even made them public. Someone leaked it, probably an intern trying to impress his girlfriend. I was furious until the collector called Sky directly and offered $2 million for a car we hadn't officially unveiled. That's when I knew we were past the point of no return. We delivered a custom version of the car under a strict confidentiality contract. No photos, no press, no leaks. It was air-freighted in the dead of night, hidden from every radar. A week later, the collector posted a blurred silhouette on social media. No logo, no label, just a shadow gliding through city lights. That's when the whispers started. They called it Iron Whisper, a machine that moved like liquid metal and growled like thunder. Nobody knew who made it, but everyone wanted to. Every time someone asked, "Who built it?" I smiled and said nothing. Let them wonder. Let them chase shadows. A few weeks later, I was driving through the city at 2 a.m., no destination, just speed, and I caught sight of Madeline. She was with someone. Tall, expensive. They laughed as they got out of a cab and walked into a rooftop bar. She didn't see me, but I saw her. And for a second, I wondered what she'd think if she knew the man behind the car everyone was talking about. The one they called the machine that shouldn't exist. But then I hit the gas. Not out of anger. Not out of pain. Out of momentum. She'd always said I was chasing something I'd never catch. What she didn't understand was, I already had it. And I wasn't slowing down. 6 years. That's how long it had been since the divorce. Since Madeline walked out thinking she'd traded up, thinking she'd left a broken man behind. And now, I stood beneath the glittering chandeliers of the Westbridge Grand, suited in custom midnight blue, shaking hands with billionaires and visionaries, people who had once ignored me and now couldn't get close enough. The room smelled like old money and ambition. Spotlights roamed the ceiling. Strings played softly in the background. And in the center of it all, I was being honored as Entrepreneur of the Year. The announcer called my name, and the room erupted in applause. I walked to the stage, but before I reached the steps, I saw her. Madeline. She didn't see me at first. Her head was down, tray balanced carefully in her hands, moving from table to table like she was just part of the furniture. Her hair was tied back, her eyes tired. The designer labels and diamonds she used to flaunt were gone, replaced by a black server's uniform and scuffed shoes. She looked up and froze. It was only a second, but that second felt like the world cracked open. Her face shifted, shock, then panic, then something else. Shame. I kept walking. Turns out the man she'd left me for, the one she claimed was her true love, he wasn't some fairy tale prince. He was a scammer, a charming, broke parasite who drained every last dollar from her bank account and disappeared without a trace. She'd lost everything. The house, the car, the so-called friends. All gone. Now, she was working events like this just to keep the lights on. She was living the life she once told me I was destined for, except I wasn't there anymore. She was. When I took the stage, I spoke about grit, about vision, about rising when the world tells you to stay down. I didn't mention her. I didn't need to. But I caught her watching, trying not to cry, trying not to be seen. And for the first time since she left, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pity either. I felt closure, because the truth was, Madeline had been right about one thing back then. Our contract was temporary. It ended the day she walked away. But my future? That had only just begun. She didn't approach me. Not right away. I could feel her watching me from across the room, half hidden behind a pillar, tray clutched tight, like it was the only thing anchoring her to the floor. I kept laughing with investors, shaking hands with CEOs, accepting congratulations I'd earned in blood and silence. But every so often, I'd glance toward that corner, and she was still there, staring, not at the man she used to mock, but at the man she never really knew. Eventually, she moved, slow, hesitant steps like she was walking toward her own ghost. "Darian," she whispered. Her voice cracked. She looked thinner, tired. The fire in her eyes, the one that once burned cold and calculating, was now just smoke. I let her speak first. "I didn't know you'd be here," she said, voice barely audible over the music. "I belong here," I said. It wasn't pride. It was truth. She blinked hard, like the weight of those words finally landed. Her mouth opened, maybe to apologize, maybe to explain. But I didn't care. I didn't need closure. I wasn't looking for redemption. And I sure as hell didn't want a sorry. So I just looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in years. Not as my wife. Not as the woman who betrayed me. But as a stranger. She wasn't the storm anymore. She was the wreckage. I nodded once, stepped past her, and walked away. No dramatic line. No glance over my shoulder. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I didn't have to destroy her to win. She'd already done that herself. And me? I was finally free to live the life she once said I'd never have. Funny thing is, she was right about one thing. This marriage was always meant to end. She just never imagined I'd be the one walking away with everything.